Hey everybody, Kicking It Retro here today. 500 subscribers. By the way, hope you guys were paying attention to the team preview because it's got a very, very special theme near and dear to my heart, my very favorite game series. Guys, let me know in the comment section some things that you have, some ideas for a 500 subscriber special. Let me know if it's something you want me to do with Angel or something else. There is a purpose for the 5 Pokemon, but I'll get into that later on in the battle. I'm leading with Von Karma because once Karma has your number, she always catches up with you. Let me tell you guys, this battle is absolutely bat crazy. You know the word that goes there? We featured Golbat, now it's only fair that we feature Crobat. It came out in Johto, and it is one of my personal favorites as of the old school and Pokemon Stadium. So you didn't miss too much. He decides to risk it for the biscuit and I guess range the damage range for Thunderbolt, which he almost loses all of his HP just to get those spikes up. So they're very, very important as I switch out to Phoenix. Phoenix is going to step on some spikes as the STEELIX decides to curse up. That means I can easily 2-hit KO this STEELIX, and I know he's probably going to want to swap out, predicting him to swap to something that could resist it. I just go for the safe Ice Beam. It does hit the ground side, even though it is just a neutral hit on the STEELIX. It's always good. It can freeze something on the switch like a Snorlax, Chansey, or I'm sorry, Blissey. I've got to get in my mind that people use Blissey, not Chansey. I'm the only weird one that uses Chansey. Xenon, I'll explain that later. Alright, so he decides to go out to Machamp, his offensive threat, and Ice Beaming Machamp is always cool as well. But I've got the perfect thing for Machamp. The perfect thing for Cross Chop. No, not Miltank. Lotta, stay in the party. Alright, let's go into the perfect switch into this thing, which is Arrow. Special mention to Arrow the Acrobat, and no, that is not what he's named after. Yes, you did say that correctly, he is holding Fly, and you're like, well, he just has STEELIX in the back. You're right. We'll get there. So, some rocks are going to fall from the sky. They're going to do just about half damage, and we actually do not have leftovers. We actually have the Mint Berry, so that we can recover any status, or I'm sorry, recover off of rest and fully heal ourselves back up. One really cool thing about this set is Crobat is very naturally fast by its base stats, so it's able to freely curse up against the likes of something like Machamp. So I see this is a Curse Machamp, leading me to believe he's either Curse, Rest in 2 attacks, or he's Curse in 3 attacks. More often than not, Machamp is so bulky with max dynamic values, they tend to gravitate toward having that Rest Sleep Talk set alongside Curse so that they can cover Earthquake and Cross Chop or Rock Slide and Cross Chop, as the coverage in the tier is pretty phenomenal. But guess what? After 2 curses, roll its Rock Slide. Nope, not really, not to this bat. Wings of Steel. Arrow is going to go up in the sky here, and Arrow is going to do some very nice damage to this +2 Machamp with Fly, looking like a 2-hit KO even, factoring the leftovers. But he does miss the very next Rock Slide as we try to go into a Fly again. And again, he can go to STEELIX at any time, and I can wear it down with Hidden Power fighting. It's fine. The only thing I would have to be worried about is if he was a Roar variant. But a lot of people have adapted to my Bind variant that I've used on Showdown a few times. And some people have just done like Explosion, Curse, Hidden Power, Rock, and Earthquake, because it breaks down like bulky waters and stuff. So this Machamp decides to rest, and that's fine. With Sleep Talk, the cool thing is I can curse up enough to take defensively and defensively handle his Rock Slides, and then, even after I've done more cursing than him, I can rest off all that glorious HP and get off our Mint Berry. And that is great because he now goes to something, he's like, okay, now I'm going to go to the STEELIX. But Machamp is already worn down, and look at this. This Hidden Power fighting does plenty of damage. Why Hidden Power fighting? It covers T-Tar, it covers Steels, and it also hits Curse-Lax. We take that Rock Slide so well and bring STEELIX almost to the point that we can knock it out. And you're like, well, Crobat is naturally faster than STEELIX. We have cursed up so much that we're actually slower than STEELIX. Roll its Rock Slide, and this time it does get us and knock us out, but it is okay. We damaged Machamp, we did a ton of damage to STEELIX. Man, that thing did a ton of work, the finest of work. Thank you, Arrow, you always are tight-roping, wheeling on your tightrope on a very, very tough situation, and I just totally gave that character away. So now, I'm thinking he's going to go into something that I can freely explode on, and he fodders off his Cloyster with almost no HP left. So I explode pretty much for nothing, which is very, very unfortunate. I digress. A lot of heart is going to come in here. And no, Lot of Heart does not have a track to face off this Executor. Now, I do have the Gengar in the back. The problem is, I have to come to a situation in an ideal point where if he's going to explode, he's definitely not going to do it while I have the Gengar. He makes a phenomenal play going for the Stun Spore as I switch into the Gengar. That is such a good play. Paralyzing Gengar, making it slower. Now, with Spikes, we actually cannot live Psychic. During this battle, I was pretty convinced I could live a Psychic coming in and try to range that max range, but Spikes are up, and Spikes are so good right now, and he gets a crit Psychic right off the bat. You know, this reminds me, of Gold Silver Crystal, where you fight Will and his Psychics just always crit, and they do so much damage. Back when Generation 1 was just so broken with the Psychic type, and Psychic was like this omnipresent, perfect move that just did so much damage and crit everything, because a lot of the Pokemon that had Psychic, even if they weren't fast, they still lowered the special. And when they lowered that special, then that next Psychic, even if it was against a special attacker, even if it was a Psychic versus a Psychic, and they just had this war of attrition where they just went for Psychics and special drops, and one of them finally came out on top, like with Alakazam having Thunder Wave. I am not sure how I feel about Snorlax. It will come into play a little bit later with some paralysis support, because Snore can actually flinch your opponent. However, its base damage just isn't strong enough even after some curses. However, let's recall that Machamp is pretty low on HP from earlier, and these Psychics are just coming through, and as I curse up, I think my opponent still has that Machamp in the back, and at some point, that Machamp does have to come in and go for a cross-up. But if he crits Snorlax, of course, it's going to be game over and lights out for the Snorlax. I am predicting explosions so hard because, like, I'm just staying in with Gumshoe here in case he wants to Psychic, predicting me to Gengar, predicting me to predict his explosion. Oh, my coconuts hurt. My brain, my brain cells. In comes this Machamp. This sleeping Machamp, as I snore and do a pretty sizable chunk to it. Enough almost to take it out. I wish, even after Spikes, it's not enough from this range. And at some point, he will outspeed me since I do have those curses down, and he can easily just knock me out. If he crits, Snore brings him on the brink of death. But on this very, very next turn, he is going to wake up, and we're going to see how strong this cross chop is. And he does not score a crit. I'm seeing the HP bar go down, and I'm getting overly excited. And the Earthquake comes through, and we knock out the Machamp, and that is so good. In comes this STEELIX. Now, the only reason he could have brought this in, as you'll find out now, you're going to be like, why does your Snorlax outspeed STEELIX? And that's because he did indeed go for the Roar, so he was not Curse, Earthquake, Rock Slide, or Hidden Power Rock Explosion variant. He was instead the Curse Roar variant. I was just joking earlier about the Bind variant. No one uses that except my crazy self. Anyways, I'm going to predict the explosion again. You know, this is reminding me of that last couple of battles where I predicted Gengar so many times, and the one time I bring it in, again predicting explosion, my opponent just stays hard on the Psychic and gets the knockout on the Gengar. That is so impressive. Now I don't really have anything to take explosion. In my mind, I kind of want to just either freeze Executor, you know, put this in this cold chance in HE double hockey sticks. As the Stun Spore comes down, we are now paralyzed and we may not be able to attack. At some point, I do want to give up one of my Heal Bellers. I actually am running double Heal Bell support. Originally, this was like a Psych Up variant of Miltank, and I've swapped this team around a few times in testing with it to try to get it the way that I wanted it. We're going to get hurt by some Spikes, as Lotta has a lot of heart. Second reference, by the way, or second hint to that reference. As we come in here with these body slams, and War of Attrition, not quite, no paralysis. Here comes some curse. We're going to speed things up a little bit, and there is going to become a part of the battle that gets even more sped up, but we'll get there in hyperspace when we get there. In comes that body slam para I was looking for. As you guys have seen the battles with Xenon, Miltank has really risen up in the ranks and has really made a name for itself. Oh, this is the speed up I was talking about. Yeah. So, let me explain this situation. My opponent, so in the editor, you have to actually up your attack, or I'm sorry, your happiness when you use return. I'm not sure if you guys can tell yet, but his return isn't doing much damage, so he swaps to Earthquakes. Unfortunately for my opponent, I also can curse up and rest and all of that. So, I'm not sure if you see where this is going, but this is going to become a PowerPoint stalwart very quickly. Curse Earthquakes, curse Snores, curse Returns that do very little damage. And the cool thing is, because they do very little damage, and they're very weak returns coming off a very low base attack with low happiness, that means some of my last couple of Pokemon can have a shot at this thing. However, the problem with that is, by swapping out at any point, I give this Snorlax free opportunity to still be at +6. And while it might be a bit on the pitiful side of +6 with the return and low happiness, guess what? We're still on the brink of death. We're still at the point of resting off all of our HP. And to see just kind of how low we can get here, we decide to finally rest on each other. And at some point, I decide this is a no-go. And I was like, okay, let's go to Elise. The reason let's go to Elise, as you see, that return should absolutely devastate 7.5 Blissies. Yes, I calced it. But because it is under a very pitiful base attack, these Ice Beams are going to come through and not freeze. How wonderful. Taking the opportunity to curse up as we continue to Ice Beam this thing. As we're halfway there, we're way over halfway there. We got only 4 minutes left. We're over halfway there. We are living on a prayer for this Ice Beam. Great song, by the way. Curses up. Leftovers are going to recover some HP on both sides. And one more chance, maybe, possibly not. We do outspeed him even with a paralyzed Blissey. He's just that slow. And no bones, no bars, and that +6 return just isn't cutting it. Not at all. Another Ice Beam coming through. That's 4 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. 4 in a row with absolutely no hacks. I don't think we've actually had much hacks this game other than his Executor critting my Snorlax with a Psychic that didn't make a whole bit of a difference. We live it on 22 HP. 22, and we get fully paralyzed, and now the return takes us out. We now have Lotta, and we also have our Snorlax. So let's queue it up, let's go into hyperspace, and let's see how fast we can make it happen. I think we're a bit... There we go. There goes the hyperspace in just a minute. Waiting for... There it goes. Wait, I was waiting for that transition. There it is. So, finally, the +6 pitiful return does knock out the Miltank, and we are left with a Snorlax on Snorlax War. However, I got so wrapped up in forgetting that he's never exploded with his Executor. So, the biggest thing as we fight on is it comes down to a PowerPoint stall war. Both Snore and Return do have high power points, Snore having 24, and Return still having 32, so it seems to be the better option. And I'm trying to bring him down with Earthquake since he is paralyzed. He could rest off all that HP, but I don't think he's going to want to do that. I think he's just going to want to try to kill me while he can. Fully paralyzed, low HP, got him on the brink of death. We've almost got this. I think this is a very good opportunity for me to rest. He does not get paralyzed. I go for Snore. I've got 13 of them left, and I'm just not getting it. So here's the thing I was talking about. We're actually equally slower than each other. So Snore would be so cool right here to maybe get some flinches, but I'm just allowing him to get all those leftovers back to full HP, and he's the first one with a crit on the board. The returns, once again, aren't doing very much, but we're going to get to a point where this is going to be kind of a struggle, if you get what I'm saying. So more Snores, more of not flinching, more curses. He's just showing off at this point. And I was like, okay, cool. So Executor in the back, it's fine, because if he blows up, I'm still at +6 defense. He's got very few Psychics because he used most of the power points on him. I don't know what he'll do at that point. So now it's a super hyperspeed moment in which we're both pressing all of our power points, and we get to the point where I'm struggling first. He's able to rest through my struggling. Isn't that crazy? You're already struggling, and your opponent's just like, yep, don't care. Just resting through those struggles. And the problem is we're both at +6, so this is kind of an equal balance here, trying to see who gets that critical hit first. And we're struggling, and the problem is I no longer can rest. So the moment that he gets a critical hit and gets my HP down to a point where it actually starts going down completely, and he can attack every turn, that's going to be a very big problem. Keep in mind that he still has Executor in the back, and while he can't blow up, all he's got to do is bring me down into a range in which I can be finished off, because I can't rest off any of my HP, and we're struggling. I score the crit, bring him low, and it really looks like I have the upper hand here. It's so close. Tooth and nail, going back and forth with the struggle hits. I get him down to red first. He gets me down to red, and I'm sitting here like, oh my god, he is going to crit me. He is going to crit me. He is going to crit me. He's going to crit me. I bring him down, but I am on the brink of death at 5 HP. I recover some leftovers, and the final turn of the game is imminent. Man, I wish I could go back 4 or 5 turns ago. I wish I could have maxed happiness. I think I'll run return from now on. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys. Let me know about that 500 subscriber special down below in the comments section. And thank you all for the support, and welcome to the new subscribers. I'll catch you guys next time. Let me know what you think of CROBAT, and I'll see you next time. Power on, power off, and take care.